Today, I'm taking you inside a night in Austin, Texas that turned from celebration into chaos in a matter of seconds. A night where music, laughter, and crowded streets were suddenly replaced by gunfire, fear, and unanswered questions. In the early hours of the morning, on a busy stretch of West 6th Street, one of Austin's most popular nightlife areas, people were doing what they always do on a weekend. Students, friends, and visitors filled the bars and sidewalks. It was loud, packed, and alive. No one there expected that within minutes, their lives would be changed forever. Authorities later confirmed that the incident began just before 2 a.m. Emergency calls came in reporting a man actively shooting near a bar known as Buford's. Within seconds, police and paramedics who were already stationed nearby responded. That detail matters because it likely prevented something even worse. When officers arrived, they were confronted with an armed suspect. Within moments, multiple officers opened fire, killing the shooter at the scene. What unfolded happened fast, too fast for many people to even understand what was going on. But the damage had already been done. 17 people were affected in total. 3 people lost their lives at the scene. 14 others were rushed to hospitals, some in critical condition. Behind those numbers are real people, friends, families, students, lives interrupted in the most violent way. And as the city woke up, trying to process what had happened, another layer of the story began to emerge: the identity of the shooter. According to multiple law enforcement sources, the suspect was a 53-year-old naturalized U.S. citizen, originally from Senegal, living in Texas. Investigators recovered materials from his body and vehicle that raised serious concerns. Clothing reportedly carried religious references, including phrases associated with faith, and there were indications of possible ideological influence. Authorities also mentioned items connected to foreign symbolism, including references linked to Iran. But here is where the story becomes complicated. Officials, including the FBI, were careful. They stated clearly that while there were signs that could point toward a possible connection to terrorism, nothing had been definitively confirmed at that moment. The investigation was still ongoing, and that distinction matters. Because in moments like this, fear spreads faster than facts. There were already voices speculating about global connections, about political tensions, about international influence. But investigators emphasized that they needed time to analyze evidence, time to verify motives, time to separate what is real from what only appears to be real. And while that investigation continues, the human impact cannot be ignored. Witnesses described scenes of confusion and terror. One student who had just stepped outside moments before the shooting began said he initially thought the sounds were something harmless, maybe a motorcycle, maybe fireworks. But within seconds, reality hit. Gunfire, panic, people running. He described feeling like a target without even realizing it, sitting, exposed, unaware of how close danger had come. That is the part people often forget about mass shootings. It is not just about the moment itself. It is about the randomness, the fact that anyone could have been there. Anyone could have been caught in it. And for many in Austin, especially students, this was not a distant tragedy. It was personal. Universities confirmed that some victims were students. Friends knew someone who was there, someone injured, someone gone. The city responded quickly. Emergency services were on scene within less than a minute. Police neutralized the suspect almost immediately after arrival. Officials stated clearly that this rapid response saved lives. But even when everything is done right, there is still loss. And then comes the bigger question: why? What leads a person to walk into a crowded area and open fire? At this stage, the answer remains uncertain. Authorities have suggested possible ideological elements, but they have not confirmed a direct link to any organized group or specific motive. That uncertainty is important because it reminds us that not every act of violence fits neatly into a single category. Sometimes the truth is more complex and more uncomfortable.
There are discussions now about security, about preparedness, about how cities can protect public spaces. There are also broader conversations about radicalization, about how individuals can be influenced, and about how early warning signs can be missed. But there is also something deeper, a pattern that continues to repeat. Public places, ordinary nights, sudden violence. And each time, communities are left asking the same questions. Could this have been prevented? Were there warning signs? And how do we move forward without living in constant fear? Experts often say vigilance is necessary, that threats can come from different directions, that global tensions, online influence, and personal factors can all intersect in unpredictable ways. But for the people who were there that night, this is not about analysis. It is about trauma. It is about the sound of gunshots echoing through a place that was supposed to be safe. It is about the memory of running, not knowing where to go. It is about the silence that comes after, when everything stops and you realize what just happened. And for families who lost someone, there are no explanations that can fill that space, only grief. As investigators continue their work, more details may come out. Motives may become clearer. Connections may or may not be confirmed. But what will not change is the reality of that night. 3 lives lost, 14 people injured, an entire community shaken, and a reminder that even in moments of joy, everything can change without warning. This is not just a story about a shooting. It is a story about vulnerability, about how quickly normal life can turn into something unrecognizable, and about how, in the aftermath, people are left trying to make sense of something that may never fully make sense. Because sometimes the hardest part is not what happened, it is understanding why it keeps happening.